It has been one of those days when you do your very, very best, and you know the story. Doesn't matter how hard you try or what you do, it's in the cards. It's not going to work out the way you want it to. Kind of the story for the planet when you think about it. The guest we have on the first hour is Clark Mclelland. Clark, are you there?
I'm online with you, Jeff.
All right. Well, I'm glad you finally made it. They blocked
my phone. They blocked my phone here.
Mm-hmm. You called in on our 800 number?
That's right.
Okay. Well, we did our best. You did your best, and we beat them.
Okay, I hope we did, because this is the evil on the planet Earth. It needs to be wiped out.
Some say that the entire DNA of this evil needs to be wiped out.
Oh, yeah. The DNA, it needs to be wiped out. Hitler tried it, even though he may have not known what he was doing. But we got to be realistic about it. He didn't want to kill them all. He wanted them ejected from Europe. There were two deals made to get them out of Europe. He didn't have mass extermination. We're not in the plans. So anyway. And they were in Spain, and the same thing happened to this evil in Spain.
Yeah. Well, they survived in the Byzantine Empire for about 1,200 years. And the way the Byzantine Empire handled the so-called age-old Jewish problem of greed and control, I'm speaking in general historical terms here, is that they kept the Jewish members of the Byzantine Empire from being involved in education, politics, banking. That's right. They left them to the merchant class, and they didn't have any trouble.
Well, we've had trouble here now, because I'm going to be honestly frank, for anybody that's listening, I don't mean to scare you. I hope this will wake you up. The United States of America does not exist any longer. The New World Order, which is the world banking system controlled totally by Zionist Jews, is what destroyed the USA. New World Order now owns the United States.
It certainly does. And who is the New World Order, Clark?
It's the Zionist Jews in their banking system, and the Wall Street CEOs. They're all Jews. Now here's something from Harry Reid. Are you aware that he owns 93 acres next to the Bundy Ranch?
Of course, I ran the story. Just a laugher. Yeah, he was busted. We found out. The guy is the epitome of corruption, graft, and criminality. Period.
That's right. And he's a Mormon.
Yeah, well, some of the most dangerous people I've ever met call themselves Christians.
Yeah, right.
I see that little fish symbol on the back of a car, and I want to run.
That's right.
So, and then there's the other joke about the most dangerous man on the planet is a Greek in tennis shoes. So,
that's right.
And then you've got the Armenians, who are very, very clever and shrewd businessmen and women too.
That's right.
So, it's all part of the game. Who is the most ruthless, heartless of all? No question. It is the so-called Zionist Jews. It's the tribe.
It's the tribe of greed on earth. That's right. Every nation they enter, when they take over the banks, they destroy the industry they did in the USA, and they sent it to China and various other places. They're favoring China right now because they know that China has the strongest army on the planet Earth.
Correct.
And,
Yes, correct. They're crawling all over China trying to get footholds there. They've penetrated India very well, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they're a cancer on Earth, Jeff. You know that. I know that. Anyway, he wanted to build. Harry Reid wants to build a large solar farm on that 93 acres, and he wanted to be able to spread it over on the Bundy Ranch area. Then he made a deal, Harry Reid, with China to build the large solar farm. China. That's high treason. He's committed high treason.
There is no such thing anymore.
No. And our nation's solar farm builders, which I took part in Belize, South America, well, Central America, they're all out of business too because of the treason of Harry Reid, Pelosi, and the rest of the people in Washington, D.C., in most cases, a large portion of them.
Couldn't agree more, Clark.
I love this country. We have had a secret astronaut corps, Jeff. We've had that for a long, long time, like many, many years. That astronaut corps that was secret, still is to a degree, have been to Mars. They have built a base there and were on the moon before Neil Armstrong in 1969.
Oh, way before. Now, we also know that the early pictures of the moon landings were filmed by Stanley Kubrick. That's the best guess. So we could guarantee success. There was too much writing on this. We couldn't take the chance that it wouldn't work, okay? Yeah. So they played the crummy third-generation stuff, and the people at NASA HQ, you were there, I guess, were very disappointed in the quality of the footage, but that was done intentionally. So to cover up. But we know now a lot, and there are lots of problems with the moon missions. I do believe we went there on some of the occasions. I do also believe that many of the photographs and the video portions were created down here to, again, assure and guarantee, quote, success in the mission.
Well, that may be true, but...
I don't know. You know better than I, my friend.
I was involved in all those landings. We had 7 launched to the moon. Apollo 13 was our greatest success because we saved 3 astronauts that had an explosion in their command service module, their service module, and it was sabotage, but they will never tell you that. And they won't tell you that the Space Shuttle Challenger and the Space Shuttle Columbia were also both sabotaged. And I was told if we would have released that, we would have had Third World War. Now our 12 astronauts' lives worth $7 billion, or close to that at that time. Of course, the number's yes. So we didn't have a Third World War, not yet, but it's coming close.
Yeah, it's coming. We're going to go through the break, Todd. Thank you.
Well, I'm sorry we lost time.
No, I want to make up for it. It's okay. You have now 22 chapters finished, and I have 20 that are up and running. The 21st one I've held back on, Jeff, because the 21st one I've disclosed astronauts that are still alive, and the fact that they were able to see the 8 to 9 foot tall aliens like I had seen, and another friend of mine had seen in the crew compartment. Well, question. Okay, now we've covered this before several times, and if you go to Clark's website, you can see. Give him your website's name, Clark.
It's Stargate Chronicles. Stargate-Chronicles.com.
Okay, just remember the hyphen, not an underscore. Stargate-Chronicles.com. Now, the astronauts involved with meeting the very tall ETs out there are still alive. They're still alive. Do you think, now you know them,
I know who they are.
Yes. Do you think they will take this with them to the grave, or do you think that as their years approach and begin to run down toward the end of their lives, that they'll tell the story?
Well, there's one that I know will not have that happen. That's...
What do you mean will not have that happen?
Well, he will not allow himself not to disclose what he knows, and that's Buzz Aldrin.
All right.
Buzz Aldrin, I doubt seriously will ever go to the grave without disclosing what happened there. He knows what he saw. Neil Armstrong knows what he saw. Michael Collins, who was in orbit, I helped design the Apollo 11 mission emblem with the landing of the Eagle on the moon with Mike Collins. He's alive, and he hasn't said very much. So whether or not he'll state anything or not, because he did see alien craft below his command service module that was awaiting the lunar module to rise up and go back and mate with him and then come back to Earth. I'm not sure what to say about Michael, but I do know Buzz Aldrin will not miss the chance to tell all the people listening right now that, yes, they saw ETs on the moon. There is no doubt about that, because I was in the control area hearing the commentary that was blocked out for you not to hear. I did hear it. That's the thing. With my being in the Office of Naval Intelligence at the time, I still am, by the way, they kept it out of the hands of the people, newspapers, TV, and all. Of course, that's all controlled by Zionists, too.
The astronauts themselves, you were there. All the missions made it to their intended target. They did at least orbit the moon. 13 obviously was a disaster, that was a magnificent effort to save it. But we did go to the moon. You're convinced. What do you think of these, Clark? What do you think of the documentaries that do show a lot of apparent anomalies, like simply slowing the footage down? You have people walking normally. You triple speed it, and it looks like they're in a big sound stage.
Like you're bouncing around there. Yeah.
Does that make sense to you that Kubrick could have staged much of the moon footage for domestic consumption? This is showbiz. Let's face it.
That's right. And Kubrick was show business. I can't say if I knew Kubrick did it or not, but I have suspected some of that myself. But I didn't disclose anything beyond the knowledge I have about the wonderful crew and the crew members that went there that were all friends of mine. And Neil Armstrong, he came back. He wouldn't say a word about it, but he slipped once or twice. And then he had a second heart attack. They took him to the Cincinnati hospital. I was up in that area of Cincinnati when they took him there. I went over to see if I could see him. They said, no, he's in serious condition. What happened there was Neil Armstrong was on the death panel. He was on the list of the names of the death panel. So Neil, in my opinion, was allowed to die at the Cincinnati hospital. That's my opinion. Mm-hmm. I have some other wordage that I've heard that was reported to me, but that's exactly what happened to Neil.
Now, Clark Mclelland is a brilliant scientist who played a key role in our program. I did mention to you what this alleged government did to Clark. They just destroyed his life and his security, his retirement. They took it all away. But what I want to ask you, Clark, is just as a general overview. You had access to the real data coming back from the moon.
Exactly.
Now, E.T. Was and very likely is up there. Big ships, craft are up there. Uh-huh. Which of the astronauts saw the machines, the large spacecraft up there?
Well, Buzz Aldrin, Neil Armstrong, and Mike Collins in orbit of the moon when he was seeing objects flying below him. Uh-huh. And then the final missions. Oh, I'm sorry. I had to take a deep breath there because a horrible pain was coming on me, and it stopped. So thank goodness it did.
All right.
Anyway,
my friend, let me tell our audience, Clark, that if Clark does scream out in pain, it's not an act. It is a miracle. He is alive. He is. I have never met anyone with more courage than Clark Mclelland to be able to do what he does and hang in there. They want to amputate his leg, which quite frankly would be the best thing to do. He does not want to do that. That is his choice. So he is fighting it, and he is heavily bandaged. He is certainly taking a lot of things that I and others have suggested. He's on pain medication, which at this point really does very little good.